What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we're going to do my official 2021 NHL playoff predictions as of the day before the playoffs begin. So, as you can see, I have it color coded by each division. So, you see the North here is in brown, the East is in blue, the Central is in red, and the West is in purple, and then the Final Four will be in orange. So without further ado, we'll jump in and we'll start with the North. So how the standings finished is Toronto got the 1 seed, Edmonton got the 2, Winnipeg got the 3, Montreal got the 4. So that matches up Montreal v Toronto. Toronto having, the home ice advantage. Now these are all going to be best of 7s. So does that help anyone? Does that hurt anyone? Not necessarily. So Toronto v Montreal. This will be an interesting series. So Toronto is heating up. They've remained hot. They've been one of the better teams in the league in these past few weeks. Now, they're also relatively healthy. Frederik Andersen hasn't really done much, but Jack Campbell stepped up nicely for their goaltending situation. And, other than Zach Hyman, this team's healthy. So that's good. Montreal, on the flip side, they've been cooling down considerably. Now, Carey Price, he missed the last few weeks of the regular season due to concussion. He is expected to return, so that is a little bit of an advantage for, Montreal, but does it really, really matter? This team has some good depth in Montreal, but they just don't match up well against Toronto. The problem is, Toronto's a better team. Toronto's just a better team. They won 6 of the 9 games that these two teams played. Sorry, Montreal, I love you guys. You're a young, talented team, but I don't know how good Carey Price is going to be when he's returning from an injury. Montreal, you guys are going to be a team for the future, just not today. So next we have the Edmonton versus Winnipeg series. So this one's going to be another close competitive series to an extent. Now, the Toronto-Montreal series is going to be more of a maybe sweep, possible 4-1. The Edmonton-Winnipeg series will be a little closer than that. Why? Well, let's start with Edmonton here. Edmonton has one of the hottest goaltenders in the league with Mike Smith. I didn't mention him last video. I probably should have. I didn't give him the comeuppance he deserved. He's doing great this year. He's having arguably the best year of his career. The real question with Edmonton is, can he stand up? Can he keep it going? Or is he going to cool off at the worst possible time? Edmonton also has one of the best power plays in the league. So, of course, you can't go wrong with McDavid, Draisaitl, all of them. So, Edmonton's ready to dish. They want to play. They got humiliated last year in the play-in round by Chicago. They want to prove themselves. On the flip side, Winnipeg is slipping. They are 2-9 since April 15th. Now, the real question is Nikolai Ehlers healthy? He's unknown. He's a big unknown for this series. If he is not playing for Winnipeg, they're in big trouble. But if he comes back in time for game 1, they'll be in an okay position. That helps him out a bit, especially if he can jump right in and start playing right off the bat. Will he be able to? I don't know. Now, I think Edmonton's going to win this series. I think it's going to be a 4-2 series, but that's mostly because of the standout stellar play of Connor Hellebuyck, their goaltender. Edmonton is going to be too good. Edmonton's one of the best teams in the league when it comes to, power play. They have one of the hottest goaltenders, so it'll be interesting. Now we have Toronto v. Edmonton. Of course, Toronto gets the home ice advantage. This one will be an interesting battle between the two teams. So, really, Toronto does have a 6-3 edge when you get to the games played in the regular season. Does that necessarily matter in the playoffs? Just a little bit. It's going to come down to who's hot. Of course, it's a hypothetical, so after the round 1, it's all hypotheticals. We don't know how these two teams are going to play. If Toronto's coming off a sweep and Edmonton's coming off a 7-game series, it does kind of swing the change, the balance. But I think Toronto, as talented as they are, will have fits when playing Edmonton. Edmonton is one of the best teams in the league. Of course, we've seen it. McDavid is one of the best players in the history of the league. Now, Toronto did do a good job slowing down McDavid in this most recent season. They did respectable, as much as you can slow down McDavid. But can they keep it up? It's going to come down to which goaltender is the hottest at this point in time. And as much as I hate to say it, I don't think Campbell's going to be able to keep it up. I think that Mike Smith has a better chance of staying hot than Jack Campbell. I think he has a better defense in front of him. I think he has a better, especially power play unit. So sorry, Toronto. I do have Edmonton pulling the victory here. probably in a 7-game series. It'll be really competitive. I'll love watching this whole series. Now we get to the North. So Pittsburgh gets the 1 seed, Washington gets the 2, Boston gets the 3, and the New York Islanders get the 4. So that matches up Pittsburgh v. the New York Islanders for round 1. And this will be another series that's kind of interesting. So it's a tale of two teams. The Penguins are looking elite right now. Their offense is red hot. Their goaltending, other than a fluky game against the Flyers earlier in May, they've been pretty good. So, yeah, they're looking hot. The Islanders, on the flip side, they have slowed down dramatically recently. Now, Pittsburgh won the season series over the Islanders 5-3, but it should be noted that these two teams have only played one series since mid-February. So it's been about 3 months. In 3 months, these teams have played 2 games. So anything can happen. That was back when the Islanders were hotter and the Penguins were a little colder. So it's going to come down to pace of play. Who will control the pace of play of this series? If the Islanders can control it, they will give the Penguins fits. The thing is, I don't think they're going to be able to. I think the talent in Pittsburgh is too much. They acquired Jeff Carter. He has cup experience, of course. He's made 3 cups in his career, I want to say. And, of course, he's won 2 of them, both the Kings. So Pittsburgh is a talented team. Crosby, of course, has the cup experience. Malkin, of course, has the cup experience. You can go on and on. Letang has the cup experience. It's going to be a very close series until it's not. The scores are going to be very close, if I had to guess, because of how the Islanders play. But Pittsburgh is just too talented to fall to the Islanders. The Islanders, of course, suffered some key injuries at earlier points in this year. So it's going to be tough for them without Anders Lee to play and compete this year. But you guys made the playoffs. You beat the Rangers. You beat the Flyers. Congratulations. Washington v. Boston will be another close series. This will be probably one of the 2 most physical series, at least in the first round. This is going to be a series that you're going to want to watch as many games as you can. Now, these 2 teams are both trending up right now, but they're both also older cores that are going to be trending down. This might be their last times to make real cup runs. So Washington, as good as they are, can they hold off Boston? Can Boston hold off Washington? So these 2 teams, of course, like I said, they played recently, but Washington is having some problems. So Kuznetsov and Samsonov are both dealing with a viral illness right now. It's unknown if they're going to be able to play for the first round of the playoffs. If they come back, it's unknown how they're going to play. Without them, Washington's in big trouble. Now, even if they come back, are they going to be good? We'll see. Boston, on the flip side, is coming into the playoffs, are healthy. They're ready to play. Tuukka Rask obviously came back a couple weeks back. So it's not a question of health for Boston. It's a question of health for Washington, though. I love what Boston can do. Boston can bring the physicality to this series if they need to. They have the players that can do it. Now, they don't have a Tom Wilson or Zdeno Chara, but they do have some good players. It's going to be a good series, but Boston should be able to pull the upset just because of the health concerns for Washington. I'm not willing to bet on Washington pulling the upset over Boston. So, now if you go to the season series, it was a tie 4-4, but Washington did win a couple meaningless games at the end of the year, including the last game of the regular season for these 2 teams, in which Boston rested all of its starters. So take that with a grain of salt. Now, the next series that we're going to have is going to be Pittsburgh v. Boston. This will be another series that I wouldn't necessarily want to watch, but, either way, it'll be an interesting series. Pittsburgh and Boston, these are 2 teams. These are 2 teams near the end of their protective playoff runs, They're both have older cores. I think Pittsburgh probably has another year in them at most. Boston might be in their last year of their dominance. We'll have to see, just given the core's ages and all that. So this will be a good series. This will be a close series. It's going to match up some strong goaltending and some elite offense. This would be another series that I think will go to 7 games, just like the Washington-Boston series. This would be one that I wouldn't be shocked if either team comes out on top. But I think that Boston has more to prove. I think that Taylor Hall has a ton to prove. Now, Taylor Hall is a guy who I didn't mention last video. He is doing good right now. He's starting to get the points. He is looking as good as he can. This is what Boston was hoping for when they traded for him. Basically gave up a second-round pick for him. This is what they want. They want him to show up here. Of course, they still have all their key players, Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak. So if these guys can stay hot, if any of these guys catch fire, as long as the goaltending, Tuukka Rask, stays healthy, Boston will win this series. I don't mean to knock on Pittsburgh, but you guys have a strong team. It's just going to come down to, I think Boston's going to, they have more to prove. Now we go to the Central Division, where Carolina's the 1 seed, Florida is the 2, Tampa is the 3, and Nashville is the 4. So that matches up Carolina v. Nashville as the 1v4 in the Central. So Carolina has lost their last 2 games, but they were resting their starters, so don't worry about that if you're a Hurricanes fan. They were hot right before that. No concern if I'm a Hurricanes fan. So Nashville on the flip side, they're decent. They've been doing decent lately. They haven't been red hot, but they've been okay. The big thing is this series really isn't going to be that competitive in my opinion. Carolina should win this series. This could be one of the 2 sweeps in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Carolina's too good for Nashville. Nashville does have some solid players, but I mean realistically, how much are you going to really be terrified of their defensive players? If they can't score on you, it's not the worst thing in the world. Carolina has the offense. Carolina has the goaltending. They can and will be able to beat Nashville. They proved it in the regular season. So, I mean, what are you going to do? It's not the biggest concern. Carolina, like I said last time, they started off the series 6-0. They lost the last 2 games, but they were also resting players. Carolina will win this series. The question is, will it be 5 games or 4 games, in my opinion? So that matches up Tampa v. Florida. This will be a series that a lot of people are excited for. Just like the Washington-Boston series from here, this 2v3 is going to be competitive. Now, these 2 teams, of course, they played the final season series against each other, and it was a competitive, physical series. I loved watching the games. So, yeah, these 2 teams are both trending in somewhat similar but different directions. Florida is hot. They're ready to go. They're scoring. Their offense is showing. Their goaltending is stepping up. Of course, Dragier had himself a nice shutout against Tampa in the final game of the season. On the flip side, well, Tampa, yes, they did lose 2 games, 2 pivotal games against Florida. Fact of the matter is, both Kucherov and Stamkos are trending to return for the first game of the playoffs. So those are 2 key, crucial players for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, who do I think is going to win this series? If you go by the season series, Florida won it 5-3. Florida is the hotter team right now. So you got to go with Florida. But remember, if Stamkos and Kucherov are ready to play, if they're playing at their normal capacity, Tampa Bay should be able to win this series. But since Kucherov has not played this year, and Stamkos is probably still slightly injured, I'm going to have to give the edge to Florida. So that leaves Carolina v. Florida for the Central Championship. Now, this will be another series that I'd be interested to watch. Now, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be the closest series. You'd be better off if Tampa Bay won than Florida. Tampa Bay is hot, like I said, but so is Carolina. If Carolina's coming off a sweep and Florida's coming off a 7-game series, that's going to probably heavily favor Carolina. So the way these 2 teams played, Carolina did win the season series 6-2. I think Carolina has the momentum. They have the talent. They have the offensive talent. They have the offensive depth that Florida does not have. The goaltending is going to be somewhat similar. It's going to come down to who has the hotter goalie. But I believe you're going to see the Carolina Hurricanes pull the victory over the Florida Panthers. It'll be an interesting series of 2 teams that we have joked on this channel about not having fan bases. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, how these fans show up. PNC Arena, of course, in Carolina just announced they're going to have, I think they said 100% capacity. So it's going to be very interesting to see the whole stadium, how it goes out. So lastly, we have the West. And the West had the 1 seed Colorado Avalanche, your President's Trophy champions. The 2 seed Vegas Golden Knights, who had the same amount of points but lost to Colorado due to tiebreakers. Minnesota Wild got the 3, and then the St. Louis Blues got the 4. So that matches up Colorado v. St. Louis for the 1v4. And simply put, this won't be a competitive series. Colorado is an amazing, hot, ready to go, rolling team. Now, they won the season series 5-3 over St. Louis. So, yeah, it's not exactly like a blowout, but this should still be a blowout series. Colorado, of course, they dealt with some issues from a viral illness, so they had a little bit of a slow stretch when they came back, but their players are healthy. They're ready to go. This team is talented. This team, like I said, red hot. St. Louis, on the flip side, they are oh so hot. So this will be an interesting series to see who wins it. But Colorado, just right now, these guys are probably the best team in the league. This team is ready. This team has a lot to prove. Now, you look at St. Louis, for example. Binnington's a solid goaltender, but I would much rather have Grubauer right now. And then you match up the forwards. I'll take any of the Colorado lines over any of the St. Louis lines. Defense, same thing. Losing, some of the key players that the Blues have lost in recent years ever since their cup run, that hurts you. Pietrangelo was a key player. You replaced him with Krug, but Krug hasn't stepped up to the same talent that Pietrangelo was. Of course, now you're 2 years older. You already have the cup. Colorado will win the series. It will be a little close, but it won't be a 7-game series. That matches up Vegas v. Minnesota for the 2v3. This is a series that I am excited for. Now, I like the underdog, so I'm rooting for the Wild in the series, full disclosure. So, the way it is, Vegas has been hot. Their goaltending is some of the best. They have one of the best goaltending duos in the league, at least on paper and in reality. So it's going to be tough to beat Vegas. That much is for sure, especially since they have home ice advantage. Minnesota, though, is a team that is tough to beat, especially for Vegas. Now, these two teams have played very competitive games for their whole 8-game series in the regular season, and Minnesota actually owns the season series 5-3. Now, by that, you're probably thinking I'm going to choose the Wild to win. Unfortunately, I can't do that. I don't see the Wild playing better playoff hockey. Minnesota's always a team that seems to choke in the playoffs. Vegas has made some runs in the playoffs. Vegas has better depth. Vegas has the better, more proven goaltending, I should say. Not better, more proven. Power play, Vegas. Offense, Vegas. Minnesota has more exciting young players, but this is for the 2021 playoffs. I'm not talking about the next 5 years. Therefore, I do have to give the edge to the Vegas Golden Knights, setting up a very exciting Western Conference Finals between Colorado and Vegas. This is going to be a series that can go either way. Both of these teams, they split their season series 4-4. Now, it's going to come down to who's hotter. The home ice advantage that Colorado has over Vegas is crucial for this series. That will probably make or break the series. So, Grubauer, can he continue to dominate? Can Mikko Rantanen, and all of them continue to dominate? Or will the players in Vegas step up? I have to say that Colorado is going to win this series. It's going to be a coin flip. There's 3 series here that I could have flipped a coin. And this was the one I was closest to. But Colorado is a very talented team. Vegas is more proven. Vegas has made a run to the Stanley Cup. Vegas had a couple deeper runs too. But Colorado is ready to play. They're not a team that's going to fall over and let Vegas run all over them. This is a team that they might lose game 1 or 2, but they're going to storm back and take a game in Vegas in retaliation. Colorado will win the West, and it'll be a tough loss for the Vegas Golden Knights. And it's going to be tough for Vegas because they're no longer going to be the expansion team in the league when we get to next year. So that leaves the Final Four here. Now, due to their records and points in the regular season, the 1 seed will be I'm just going to write abbreviations, Colorado Avalanche. The 2 seed will be the Carolina Hurricanes. At this point, I'll just write it out. The 3 seed will be the Edmonton Oilers. And the 4 seed will be the Boston Bruins. So, of course, there's no way to tell who you have winning these series because these teams didn't play each other in 2021. So, first we'll start with Colorado v. Boston. This will be an interesting series, best of 7. I will love to watch this one. You have somewhat physical play from Boston versus quiet offensive goal scoring from Colorado. Which goaltender is going to win, Grubauer or Tuukka Rask? Which offensive trio is more talented, Colorado's amazing trio or Boston's amazing trio? Now, it's going to be a tough series. The defenses are both talented. They don't have any marquee names, except for Cal McCarr in Colorado, of course. And I'm not here dissing anyone in Boston, but no one steps up to Cal McCarr. So this will be a series that it'll be tough to predict who you have to win. Of course, like I said, there's no way of knowing who's playing where. That's the big thing. You don't know which lines, how the lines are going to look. You don't know how the momentum's going to be swinging. But I like Colorado's offense more than I like Boston's, just how they've been playing recently. Taylor Hall wants to prove that he's the fourth best man in Boston. Maybe he can do that. Maybe they can pull the upset here in Colorado against Colorado. But it's going to be a close series. Colorado, I like what they have on offense. I like what they have on defense. I like their goaltending. I like their power play a lot more than I do Boston's. Well, not a knock on Boston, but I just think Boston at this point, they might be done after this year. They might have to look at a little bit of a potential rebuild, depending on how the expansion draft goes for them. So next we have the 2-seed Carolina versus 3-seed Edmonton. Now, my main question is, where's Edmonton going to play its home games here? I have yet to see anything saying, oh yeah, whoever wins the North gets to host. I don't know if they're going to have to do a neutral site. If they do, that really, really hurts Edmonton. But I'm going to assume they get to play their games in Edmonton, just to make it easier. So that's going to be a tough series because this is cross-country, cross-continent, I should say. Carolina is a team that has the goaltending and the power play. Guess what Edmonton has? The goaltending and the power play. So it's going to come down to, can the Carolina Hurricanes' underrated defense hold off McDavid, Draisaitl, and co? And can the Edmonton Oilers, strong, solid defense, hold off Svechnikov, Aho, and co? That's the question. What will it come down to? Which goaltenders are hotter is the real thing. And I think Mike Smith might be the guy who will carry Edmonton to the Stanley Cup Finals in this series. This will be a tough series to predict just because, once again, we don't know who's going to be playing. We don't know how those streaks are going to be going, and we don't know how it's going to be if Edmonton gets a home ice or not. I'm assuming Edmonton gets a home ice. So, to me, Edmonton, as talented as they are, will be making the Stanley Cup Final. Carolina will make a Stanley Cup Final in the near future. So, you have the talent. It's going to be interesting. So that means the Stanley Cup Final comes down to the Colorado Avalanche v. the Edmonton Oilers. This will be an interesting matchup. Coming into the playoffs, we all kind of thought, it's going to be all East. Not for me. I think it's all West now. So Colorado v. Edmonton will be a tough one to predict. Of course, you have McDavid finally getting his team to the Cup. You have Colorado, who, again, once more, this team's finally getting to the Cup. Who will win this series? If you look back at the past few years, Colorado has beaten Edmonton, but these past few years are not 2021. You can't predict based on the past, a season ago or 2 seasons ago. It's not fair. I like what Colorado brings to the table. I like what Edmonton brings to the table. Edmonton, like I said before, has one of the best power plays, one of the hottest goaltenders. Colorado, right up there, one of the best power plays, one of the more underrated, unspoken of goaltenders in the league in Grubauer. Grubauer had one of the better seasons in 2021. The offense is there for Colorado. It's going to come down to who can score first, and can someone score in bunches more? Who has the better depth? With those questions, you have to go with the Colorado Avalanche. I love what the Edmonton Oilers are doing for the first time in a while. I do have to say Edmonton has a good chance on winning the Stanley Cup. But the real question is, can this team continue to play as strong as they have been? So to me, as far as I can guess, the Colorado Avalanche will be the 2021 NHL Stanley Cup champions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's drastically different than the last one that I did. I did look at all the comments that people left me, especially about the Oilers. I did a lot more research on Edmonton. I did a lot more research on even like St. Louis, Minnesota, Carolina. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Have a good rest of your day. And as far as I'm concerned, good luck to all 16 teams involved. Have a good one.